I went on a caravan honeymoon with my wife last spring. We just gotten married in a small ceremony outside Valencia, nothing extravagant. Neither of us wanted flights or resorts. We rented a used camper van and planned to drive along the northern coast of Spain for 10 days. Just cliffs, small towns, quiet campsites. It felt simple, safe. The van wasn't fancy. It smelled faintly like old fabric and cleaning spray. The mattress dipped in the middle. We joked that if we survived 10 nights in that thing, we could survive anything. The first few days were perfect. We parked near beaches, cooked pasta on the tiny stove, fell asleep to the sound of wind hitting the side panels. It felt like we were sealed off from the world. On the fourth night, we stopped at a more remote campsite inland. It wasn't official, just a gravel clearing near a forest trail that other caravans had clearly used before. No reception, no lights. The nearest town was about 40 minutes away. That was the first seed of wrongness. Around 11 p.m., after we turned off the lights, I heard tires crunch slowly over gravel. I told myself it was another camper arriving late. The engine idled for a long time. Then it shut off. I waited for footsteps, a door slam, voices, nothing. Just silence. I didn't look outside. I don't know why. I think I didn't want to see someone standing there. Eventually, I fell asleep. The next morning, there was no other van, just our tire tracks. I rationalized it immediately. Maybe they drove off early. Maybe I imagined how long the engine ran. It didn't feel worth mentioning. That afternoon, we drove toward a cliffside town. Narrow roads, steep turns. At one viewpoint, I noticed a dark SUV parked behind us. Nothing unusual. It's a scenic stop. When we left, the SUV left too. At the next gas station, it pulled in. Same vehicle. Black. Tinted windows. I felt something shift in my stomach. Not panic, just a tightening. But again, I told myself it was nothing. We were all on the same road. That night, we stayed at a small official campsite near the coast. Real plots, shared bathrooms, a reception office that closed at 8. The black SUV was parked near the entrance. I didn't point it out to my wife. I didn't want to sound paranoid. Later, while brushing my teeth at the sinks, I saw the driver for the first time. A man in his mid-30s maybe, pale skin, thin. He didn't speak. He just watched me. I nodded politely. That was my mistake. That night, I couldn't sleep. Around 2 a.m., I heard footsteps on gravel outside the van. Slow, measured, stopping near our back doors. My whole body went cold. Not dramatic, just that quiet drop in temperature inside your chest when your brain realizes something before you consciously do. I held my breath. A faint click, like a camera shutter. Then another. The sound was soft but unmistakable. A camera flash lit the inside of our van for half a second through the thin curtains. White, sudden, silent. My wife jolted awake. "What was that?" "I don't know," I whispered, even though I did. I didn't open the door. I couldn't. The footsteps retreated. In the morning, the SUV was gone. I reported it to the campsite office. They shrugged, said people take photos all the time. Maybe someone liked our van. That answer didn't sit right. We decided to leave early. As we drove out, about 20 minutes down the coastal road, I saw it again in the rearview mirror. Black SUV, same distance behind us. Not speeding, not tailgating, just there. For the next hour, every turn we took, he took. If we slowed, he slowed. If we sped up, he kept pace. The rational part of me kept searching for coincidence. Maybe he was heading the same direction. Maybe I was building a story in my head. Then my phone buzzed. No service, but a notification had gone through briefly. An airdrop request from a device named Honeymooners. My blood drained so fast I felt lightheaded. I declined it. It came again, this time with a preview image. I didn't mean to open it, but I did. It was a photo of our van from behind, taken that morning. The timestamp read 2:13 a.m. I can't imagine what would have happened if I hadn't felt that shift right then. That gut punch that told me this wasn't random. I slammed the wheel and took the next exit into a crowded seaside town. Narrow streets packed with people and cafes. I parked abruptly in front of a police station I spotted near the harbor. The SUV kept driving. Didn't slow. Didn't stop. The officers took our statement, checked the surrounding streets. Nothing. No plates matched the vague description. No reports of harassment. They said without a direct threat, there wasn't much to file. We stayed in a hotel that night instead of the caravan. I barely slept. The next morning, we went back to the van to grab our luggage. There was something tucked under the windshield wiper. A printed photo, taken from above, through the campsite bathroom window. My wife at the sink. On the back, written in blue ink, "You shouldn't ignore people who admire you." No signature, no name. We cut the trip short, sold the caravan 2 weeks later. We changed some of our routines. My wife locked her social media down. I stopped posting locations in real time. Nothing else happened. At least, nothing obvious. But sometimes, when I'm driving on a highway and a black SUV sits a little too long in my blind spot, my chest tightens the same way it did that morning. And I think about how close someone was, how patient they were, and how easily we could have stayed one more night.
I still have the photos on my phone. I scroll past them sometimes by accident, and my stomach drops before I can swipe away. We got married in April. A small ceremony, just family. Everyone said we looked happy. And we were. Derek and I had been together 3 years. He worked in IT. I taught 2nd grade. We had a dog named Potato, normal people doing a normal thing. For the honeymoon, we picked this little coastal town in Oregon. Not touristy. Derek found the rental on some obscure listing site, a cottage right on the beach, off-season rates, no neighbors for half a mile in either direction. The photos looked perfect. White walls, big windows, that driftwood aesthetic everyone pretends to like, but we actually did. The owner's name was Carol. She met us at the property to hand over the keys, late 50s maybe, wore a fleece vest and smiled a lot. She walked us through the house, showed us how the fireplace worked, where the extra blankets were. "You two are so sweet," she said, watching Derek carry my suitcase upstairs. "How long have you been together?" 3 years, I said. "Oh, that's perfect. That's just perfect." She paused. "You'll love it here. Very private." The first 2 days were exactly what we wanted. We slept in, made breakfast together, walked on the beach. The weather was gray and cold, but we'd expected that. Derek kept joking about how we were peak married couple now because we'd stopped trying to impress each other. On the 3rd morning, I woke up, and he wasn't in bed. I found him standing at the end of the driveway in his boxers and t-shirt, barefoot, just facing the road. I knocked on the bedroom window. He turned around and smiled. "What are you doing?" I called down. "Just looking." "At what?" He shrugged. "I don't know. I woke up early." When he came back inside, I asked why he went out without shoes. He said he didn't realize he had. We both laughed about it. Made eggs, but I kept thinking about how still he'd been standing, facing the empty road. That afternoon, Carol called. "Hi, sweetie. Just checking in. How's everything going?" "It's great," I said. "Oh, good. And how's your husband?" "Not how are you both. Just, how's your husband?" "He's good," I said. "That's wonderful. You two seem very happy together." A pause. "Well, you let me know if you need anything." Later that day, Derek mentioned the tide schedule. Said low tide was at 6:47 a.m. "How do you know that?" I asked. He looked at me. "Carol told us. Remember?" She hadn't. The next night, I woke up around 3 because the bed was cold. Derek was gone again. He was on the beach this time, standing in the same position, facing the water, not moving. I grabbed a blanket and went outside. The sand was freezing. Derek! He didn't turn around. I walked up next to him. He was staring straight ahead, not blinking. Derek! You're scaring me. He blinked, looked at me, frowned. What? You're standing outside in the middle of the night. He looked down at himself. I thought I heard something. What? I don't know. Maybe a dog? There was no dog. We went back inside. He fell asleep immediately. I didn't. The next morning, Derek said he wanted to go into town for groceries. I offered to come, but he said he'd be quick. He was gone for 4 hours. When he got back, he had one small bag. Bread, cheese, beer. Things we already had. What took so long? There was a line, he said. The nearest town was 15 minutes away. Population maybe 3,000. There was never a line. Derek, where were you? He looked at me like I'd asked something in another language. I told you. The store. His face was so blank, so certain. That night I stayed awake. Around 2 a.m., his eyes opened. He sat up slowly and walked to the window. I got up and stood next to him. There was a car parked at the end of the driveway. Headlights off. Just a dark shape. I could hear the engine idling. Derek, whose car's that? He didn't answer. The car's headlights turned on, then off, then on again. Condensation was forming on the window glass between us and the night, but I could still see it clearly. Derek raised his hand, waved. What are you doing? He lowered his hand, looked at me. What? You just waved to that car. What car? I pointed. The driveway was empty. The engine sound was gone. We left the next morning. I told Derek I was feeling sick, that we should go home early. He didn't argue. Carol called while we were packing. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Hi, sweetie. I hope everything's all right. You two were just so perfect together. Call me when you get home safe. In the car, Derek slept most of the way. I drove. When we were about an hour out, he woke up and asked how long we'd been on the road. A while, I said. Oh. He looked out the window. I had the weirdest dreams this week. I can't really remember them now. He smiled at me. I'm glad we went though. Very private there. Peaceful. I said yes, it was. We've been home for 3 months now. Derek's fine, normal. He goes to work, walks the dog, makes dinner. Sometimes I catch him staring, and my chest gets tight. But then he blinks, and he's back. Last week, Carol sent me a Facebook friend request. Her profile picture is from our wedding weekend. I don't remember anyone taking it. The request disappears from my notifications every few days, then reappears. I haven't accepted it. I haven't declined it either. The worst part of our honeymoon wasn't what happened at night. It was what happened at 11:40 in the morning, in full sunlight, with 20 other tourists standing 10 feet away. We'd booked a snorkeling excursion off the coast of a small Greek island. The kind of guided trip where a boat drops you near a rock formation, gives you an hour in the water, then moves to the next spot. There were 12 of us on board. 2 guides. Bright blue sky, calm water. My wife, Mara, had never snorkeled before. She was nervous, but excited in that determined way.
If I panic, just stay close, okay?
You won't panic, and I'll be right there.
The first 20 minutes were perfect. Clear water, schools of silver fish flashing beneath us, sunlight breaking in ribbons through the surface. Then the guide blew his whistle. We were drifting farther than expected. The current wasn't strong, but it was steady. Slow enough that you didn't notice it immediately. We all began swimming back toward the anchored boat. Most of the group made it easily. Mara was behind me by maybe 15 feet. I turned when I realized I couldn't hear her breathing through the snorkel anymore. She wasn't flailing. She wasn't screaming. She was vertical in the water, just suspended. Her mask was still on. Her arms weren't moving. I swam back fast.
Mara.
No response. Her eyes were open behind the glass, but unfocused. I grabbed her shoulders and shook her lightly. She didn't react. The guide reached us seconds later. Within a minute, we were back at the boat ladder. She was breathing the entire time. Slow, shallow, but steady. Once on deck, she blinked again and looked confused, as if she'd woken from a short nap. When she finally spoke, it wasn't panic in her voice. It was irritation. She asked why I had told her to stop moving. I hadn't said anything. She insisted someone had spoken directly into her left ear while she was underwater, close enough that she felt breath against the side of her face through the snorkel tube. The voice, she said, had told her to stop kicking, to stay still, that she was too loud. The guide explained that I had been several yards away from her when it happened. She maintained that whoever spoke had been right behind her. The rest of the group pretended not to listen. By the time we docked, she seemed embarrassed. She suggested maybe she had imagined it. Maybe her own breathing had echoed strangely inside the mask. Maybe the water had distorted a distant sound. That night, though, she described it again. She said the voice hadn't sounded like mine. It hadn't sounded like anyone speaking normally. It had sounded filtered, slowed, like words forming through water instead of air. I tried to rationalize it. Sound travels differently underwater. A passing swimmer, a boat engine carrying oddly across the surface. The next morning, she suggested we swim again, this time from the small dock behind our hotel. It was quieter there, shallow enough to see the sandy bottom clearly. I stayed within arm's reach of her the entire time. We floated for about 15 minutes. Nothing unusual, just the dull hush of submerged silence. Then she surfaced abruptly. Her breathing was uneven. She kept glancing toward the dock. She asked if I had said her name. I had been underwater. She studied my face for a long second, searching for something. Proof, maybe. Then she nodded once, as if filing something away internally. We got out of the water. We didn't go back in for the rest of the trip. There were no reports of incidents, no missing swimmers, no local warnings posted anywhere along the shore. Just current, fish, sunlight. On the final day, while packing, she asked me one last question. If someone had been that close to her in open water, why hadn't I seen them? I didn't have an answer. The ocean that morning had been empty. At least, it had looked empty. Mara doesn't swim anymore, and sometimes, late at night, when everything in our bedroom is completely silent, she shifts slightly and tilts her head toward the left side of the bed before closing her eyes, like she's checking whether something is close enough to speak. I was right there beside her in the water. I never heard anything, but I can't stop thinking about the fact that something, apparently, heard her.